Hello and welcome back to the channel. Amber here, and today I'll be discussing the novella Livesuit by James S.A, which is the follow-up to The Mercy of Gods and part of the Captives' War series. I'll start with some spoiler-free thoughts, and when I dive into the deeper details of the story, theories, and larger-scale questions, I'll let you know when to hop out if you want to avoid spoilers. I'm really invested in this series and will be covering it all the way to its conclusion. So if you enjoy this video, please give it a like to help other fans find it, subscribe to my channel, or share it with anyone you think who might enjoy it. So let's get into it. First off, I found Livesuit to be a really quick and fast-paced read. It leans into the military sci-fi genre and takes place in a futuristic setting where humanity is battling a powerful enemy for survival, the Carryx. It's set in the same universe as The Mercy of Gods, and this novella has all the classic elements of Corey's storytelling. Lots of action, themes of survival, and a sprinkling of conspiracy. When I finished the story, I was genuinely upset that I'm going to have to wait for more from the series. So let's take a look at the premise of the novella. In Livesuit, we follow a soldier named Kieran. The story kicks off with Kieran and his team taking part in a dangerous mission armed with advanced biomechanical suits called Livesuits that enhance their abilities. The suit helps keep them alive during battle. It strengthens their bodies, it feeds them, heals them, and keeps them in constant contact with one another. As Kieran goes through combat, he reflects on his past, the people he left behind, and the events that led humanity into the war. With the threat of alien creatures conquering human-inhabited solar systems, he struggles with the reality of his situation and the impact of the war. Now, one of the highlights of this book is that Corey blends a good amount of psychological tension with high-stakes combat sequences. In the opening mission, Kieran's team battles alien creatures on a river when all hell breaks loose, and it does a really good job of setting the tone for the story. Action and battles, followed by reflection on home and reminders of what Kieran is fighting for. For such a short novella, I think Livesuit does a great job of giving its protagonist Kieran emotional depth, which is one of the criticisms some people had with The Mercy of Gods. Kieran's reflection on his past, the woman he loved, and the evolution of his friendship with Piotr is an anchor for the character while he's at war. Now, one of the things that made the novella challenging to read and retain is the way it explored time distortion due to space travel. If you're not paying close attention, the past and present can blend together. And time for Kieran is just as confusing because light-speed space travel changes the passage of time for him in comparison to the people he left behind on his homeworld. I really enjoyed this aspect of the story because it leans more into grounded, hard sci-fi and made me really feel for the character. He's giving up a lot to fight and keep those he loves safe. He's aging slower than those he left behind, and there's a huge disconnect between those on the battlefield and those who aren't. The passage of time is haunting and somewhat unsettling, even if the soldiers of the story find it just another part of the job. Another aspect that I really enjoyed from Livesuit is the way that the tone of the story unfolds. There is a sense of isolation and creeping dread. If you've read The Expanse and really liked some of the darker, more horror-type moments, like the spread of the proto-molecule on Eros, you might like some of the darker moments here in Livesuit. You can definitely see a bit of influence from Ty Frank's love of space horror. It's not really scary in a general sense, but there's a definite uneasiness to the story. As you get closer to the end, you can really feel the dread creeping in. Overall, I think Livesuit really stands out when it dives into big ethical and existential questions and when it stirs up conspiracy. If you're a fan of the Expanse series, I think Livesuit brings a fresh twist on how warfare evolves in unexpected ways. If the mercy of gods didn't quite grab you, Livesuit will probably do the trick. It feels more like the classic James S.A. style compared to the slower, more scientific approach of Mercy of the Gods. The novella has a good blend of action, horror, and intrigue, and some of the bigger reveals were a big highlight for me. The story leaves you with even more questions, which in my opinion is the best way to end a book. I found myself wanting more answers and really looking forward to what comes next. Now, I can't go too much more into that without feeling like I'm leading people into guessing what's going on in terms of plot twists and conspiracies. So if you haven't read the book, proceed with caution because I'll be talking about actual plots from the novella, some theories, and focusing on the plot twist. So this is your spoiler warning. Now, first off, I have to start out with the Livesuit itself because it's a pretty incredible creation and I love it as the backbone for the novella. It's part protector and part parasite. It seemingly heals injuries, monitors the soldier's health, and as Kieran and his team take part in some pretty visceral combat against the Carryx and their forces, the true nature of the suits becomes disturbingly clear. The first segment that I started to question the conditions of the Livesuit was when General Huang gave the cadets their orientation course on the suit. You get a feeling that there's something off. At the mention of needing a medical procedure to put it on, I wrote in my notes, oh God, what if the suit doesn't ever come off? Which is only half of the reveal. The bigger part of the twist is that not only does it never come off, but that injury after injury, it's actually consuming the wearer. The suits are more than just tools of war, they are reshaping the soldiers, blurring the line between human and machine. During Kieran's intake, Ross jokingly says, "We're just the skeleton for a soft robot," and it's a great piece of foreshadowing. There's also another type of alienation going on within the tone of the story due to the constant stream of communication created by the Livesuits. They are almost always connected to one another while cutting them off from things that make them feel human. They no longer eat food or feel the wind on their skin. Kieran refers to wearing them as living in each other's laps, similar to a hive mind and not entirely unlike the swarm in the Mercy of Gods. It led me to wonder if the swarm is actually just an evolution of the Livesuits based on their success in fighting the enemy. If I had to make a prediction, I'd guess that the Livesuits were phase 1 and much later down the road as more of the human population is lost to the war, the colonization of Anjiin and the swarm become a desperate shot in the dark. When it comes to how this novella fits into the series, Kieran's realization that the Livesuits aren't just tools but are actually permanent really ups the stakes. It shows just how far the human government and military are willing to go. It blows past the boundaries of morality and autonomy. Even though I partially saw it coming, the final twist where Kieran suspects that Piotr might not really be alive anymore and is being kept functional by his suit is really chilling. The way Piotr's ghost-like presence tries to rope Kieran into another tour was really a brilliant segment by the authors. The two characters used to be close friends, so it comes with an added layer of manipulation. The scary part isn't just about the body horror of the suit consuming the wearer, but the fact that when the suit takes over someone's mind, it's all too eager to keep recruiting for the military. It's so over the top that it's almost satire. I can't tell if it's disgusting, hilarious, or just incredibly clever. Props to Corey for fully embracing the Heinlein vibe here because, of course, that's exactly what the suit would do. It makes perfect sense. The next part of the story that I found really intriguing is the message Kieran receives from Mina. The first red flag is that the message had been censored by the military. She then tells him about an old film that they used to watch together called Silent Horses, and Kieran doesn't remember it. My initial thought was that the reference was a way to secretly pass information to Kieran. When he eventually looks up the film, it's about a police officer discovering the force he works on is corrupt. The next red flag is that when he tries to respond to the message, he learns it's too late. Mina died at age 58, and she was part of an anti-military operation. At this point, it's pretty easy to see that there's something nefarious going on, and the military is lying about it. But when I think about it more, it leaves me questioning not just the nature of the Livesuits, but the entire war effort. What else is being hidden? What else do the people joining the anti-military operations know? And Livesuit ends in a perfect way for me, not just because we get the plot twist, but because now I have more questions I want answers for. Like, what is the current state of humanity if they haven't already fallen to the Carryx? What happened during the passage of time between Kieran's entry into the military and the events in the Mercy of Gods? Is the swarm acting fully on its own like a rogue program, or does it take orders? How many humans are actually still alive? Lastly, if the society that created the Livesuits and possibly the swarm is still out there, what would Dafyd Alkhor do if he realized these were the people he's fighting for? Could this be the reason why he's destined to become both humanity's champion and its betrayer? The most hated man in history, yet also the protector of his people? If all that remains of humanity, aside from the survivors from Anjiin, is a fascist regime responsible for creating these weapons, are they even worth fighting for? Personally, I find this short little novella to efficiently wrap up one of my favorite themes in science fiction. Is humanity, in its desperation to survive, sacrificing its very essence of humanity? And if humanity survives using inhumane tactics, are they still actually human when they come out the other end? But to wrap things up, I had a really great time with this story, the hidden agenda of the military, Mina's message, the many battles the soldiers take part in, Kieran as a protagonist. It's a really effective little novella that blows the series wide open. I'm really invested in seeing how it all plays out. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Like and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you back next time.